Hey everybody, it's Gail, and today I have a very subtle project to show you. You might not be able to see it. So this hood comes to us from a pattern from the 1940s out of a little booklet that was all gifts. And as you can tell by the pattern photo, there's also supposed to be a set of mittens, which you notice I am not wearing. And that is because this hood took over my life. So in the pattern instructions, it says sport weight yarn. It says sport weight. Which is kind of a rarity for the 40s. You usually just kind of get a name and have to do a little digging. And then it also gives two options for your hook size. So you can use a size 2, which is a 2.25 millimeter, or you could use a size 3 for a larger size, which was a 3.25 millimeter. I decided to go with the larger size because I thought, well, the 2 is probably so it's like kid head sized. And then the 3 is for the adults. And keeping in mind that, in the 40s, if you had a lot of hair, it was usually pulled back. It was down kind of at the neck or at the middle of the head. So like all this extra room makes a lot of sense when you think about it like that. Now, of course, I don't have that much hair because I had to get 3/4 of mine taken off so I would deal with my hair. So it's a little loose on me. But it is very cozy. I have to give them that. It's incredibly cozy. But the other thing is the pattern says 6 ounces of sport weight yarn. And once I started working on this hood with the 3.25 millimeter, I was like, there's no way it's only 6 ounces. And so the pattern I found was on Free Vintage Crochet. It was also it was one that the booklet was available to buy. I bought the booklet. It said 6 ounces. I ended up finding the booklet also on the Antique Pattern Library. It said 6 ounces, and then I checked my hook size. I have 2 lists that I just use all the time when it comes to checking hook sizes, but then if I'm not sure, I'll also just Google it and see what comes up, and everybody was saying 3.25. So I think the difference, because this right here, all by itself, is a little over 9 ounces. I used 3 skeins of Go Vintage Hank, and they were the 100-gram skeins, which means they were about 3.5 ounces each, so 3, 6, 9. Okay, so like even more, so like 10.5 ounces. So this was a lot. And so I think the difference between the 6 ounces and what I used is that the 6 ounces would be for the size, the smaller hook, the 2.25 millimeter, and then for the larger hook, you're just gonna need more. And the reason the mittens didn't get made was because I just could not deal with possibly having to order more yarn. Because this is from Hobbii, so it would have to ship, and I was like, I'm just going to be done with the hood. I have a skein left over. I'll figure something out. But let's actually talk about the hood, because it is very, very pretty. I like it a lot. So, first of all, you just make a big rectangle in star stitch. And this is a variation of star stitch I haven't worked, where you're just working star stitch. So the star stitch I've usually seen is you work the star stitch pattern for 1 row, and then you work, the last time I used it, it was half double crochets for a row, and then you went back in and did star stitch again. And this is just star stitch all the way down. You make it until it measures 11.5 inches. So from here to here. And then you sew it together at the top to make the hood. And then you Solomon knot your little heart out. Yeah, you got Solomon knots all the way through, and that's why it's so floofy. And I really love that. I love a good bit of floof, as we know. And then at the end, you're supposed to take, I think it's a yard of ribbon. And you cinch it, and you tie it. And the ribbon, I think they called for a 1-inch ribbon. I think this is a 1.5. And you have a very dainty yet very warm hood. Now, oh, there we go. I might actually pin it so it holds like that. That looks very cute. Yeah. So I like it a lot. Although it is a lot, obviously. I mean, hey, how you doing? So I think coming back in and doing a little bit of pinning and sewing to get the hood off my face so I can see where I'm going when it's cold would be a good thing. I also really like that I can just sort of throw it off and it's still a very nice cozy neck warmer. It is, it's February as I film this, and so it's still cold. And I actually have a work trip coming up where we're going to a place that's colder, so this might get packed, honestly. I might, yeah, like it. And like, I mean, obviously you've gotta love Solomon knot to one, make it, and two, wear it. But luckily I do. Yeah, it's a fun pattern, and the whole booklet has a lot of stuff. So what I'll do is I'll link to, it's going to get a little complicated. I will link to the free pattern on Free Vintage Crochet, so just like the single pattern. I will also link to the booklet there so you can buy it so that you can support Free Vintage Crochet if you like the other stuff in the book. I will also go ahead and link it from the Antique Pattern Library since they have a copy. And basically, two of my favorite sources for stuff both have the same thing. So, you know, figure out where you want to grab it from. If you want to grab the whole booklet, obviously, you know, free whole booklet, awesome. But a couple of bucks to support Free Vintage Crochet is never a bad thing. No problems with the pattern. I mean, it worked out beautifully. This is one of those that says make this number of chains to like 18 inches to start, and I did that, and then I worked it down to the 11 and a half, and then I just worked Solomon knot until my fingers fell off. So it's it reads well, it works up well. If you do end up making this and you use the 2.25 hook, which you've just seen what it looks like on my adult-sized head, so I would actually recommend, I think, that if you don't have a huge amount of hair that also has to go into the hood, smaller hook size is probably better. I would love to know how much yarn you use just for the hood, because the 6 ounces is supposed to be for the hood and the mittens. So I would be very curious to know, and I'm in no mood to make it again. Maybe in a year or so, because again, it is very cute. All right, yeah, that's all I got for you today. Just a little bit of winter wear, even though I think you guys are seeing this in like April or May. So you can make it for next winter. I think ahead. I don't think ahead. All right. As always, if you enjoy what I do here, please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, all of that fun stuff. And I will see you when I see you.